Classic off-road four-wheel drive. This is BlueBrixx set 103251. It consists of 941 pieces. This set was released in the year 2021, and if you want to buy it, you have to pay BlueBrixx about 39 euros. BlueBrixx doesn't say it, but I think it's quite obvious that this is supposed to be a Land Rover. Series 2, I would say. Maybe even Series 2A, but the real vehicles are hard to distinguish, and I don't think it's possible with a brick-built one. But maybe we will see some details when we have built up the whole thing. But I think it's quite clear that BlueBrixx wanted to make a model of one of the most iconic 4x4s there is. When you think of safaris in Africa, you think of these Land Rovers. It's just it's such an iconic car. It's one of the most iconic British cars there is. It's really nice. Well, something funny is that when I bought the set, just a few days later, Lego announced that they also will release a new Land Rover set. A classic Defender 90. So Defender is, it's just a Series 4, so 2 series later than this one. And I'm looking forward to the Lego model because I like the Defender also. It's quite curious. There are a lot of these cases, a lot of coincidences in the last days. I also wanted to build a mock of Raiders of the Lost Ark, where Indiana Jones gets chased by that boulder. And well, when I knew which bricks I needed, I created a list. Just a few days later, Lego announced that they will create or that they will publish a set with the same scene. So that's just funny. Or another case, I wanted to build a mock of that scene from Jurassic Park where we see that ill dinosaur. I think it's a Triceratops, but I'm not sure. That scene with that giant turd. Well, I found a mock for this scene, and I started to create a list with all the bricks that I'm going to need. And what happened? Just a few days later, Lego announced that they will publish a set of that scene. it's just crazy. Well, but nevertheless, I think I will build both mocks, just like I'm going to build this Land Rover. Lego won't hinder me from these plans. Well, now back to the set. As you can see, it's a BlueBrixx special, so unlike the Pro sets, there are no printed building instructions. You have to download them as a PDF file from the servers of BlueBrixx. Also, the box isn't fancy, it's quite unspectacular, it's just this brown box. And there are no building sections. The bricks just come unsorted in unnumbered bags. Normally, I would say that you should sort all your bricks by type before you start your build. But with a brick count of just under 1,000 pieces, I think this won't be necessary. I'm just going to open all the bags, throw the bricks on the table, and then I will going to start the build. Of course, after I've downloaded the instructions. I have started the build and already reached step 7. In this step we have to place 4 of these Technic axles here, here, here and here. And we have to pay attention how to place them. So we also have to place 4 of these 4x4 plate modifieds. But we don't start with placing the axle in those plate modifieds. We place the axles in the place modifieds we have already attached to the build in the previous step. And when we have done this, then we can place the new plate modifieds like this. And the last thing we have to do is to add this 2x3 plate above those 2 plate modifieds like this. Yeah, and this is what I have to do 4 times now. Step 20. I have placed a lot of plates so far, and I think it's time to talk about the bricks themselves. As you can see, the bricks aren't the nicest there are. All the plates and bricks got huge injection points from the molding process, and that's something I don't like because it just looks ugly. But the bricks work perfectly well. They might be ugly, but there's absolutely no problem with the clutch power. Everything just holds perfectly so far. And I think when we have finished this model, we won't be able to see all those studs with the injection holes because we place plates on them, and so it doesn't really matter how the injection holes look like. Step 23. In this step we need 4 of these short Technic axles. And I'm not quite sure. I hope these are the axles we are going to need, because in the instructions these axles look a bit different. I think they have notches or grooves, and the ones we have on the set don't have any grooves. But this must be the bricks needed in this step. Step 34. In this step I placed all these grills on this little module. I think it's going to be the car seats. And as you can see, one of the grills broke when I interlocked it with the studs below. Step 37. I think it's a bit unfortunate that they haven't written down in which color these bricks over here are supposed to be. Is it light bluish gray or is it flat silver? We don't know. And well, in newer sets they always mark these bricks with an FS when it's flat silver. But in this older set over here they haven't done it. Well, as you can see, we got those 4 bricks in flat silver, and I think these are the 4 bricks we have to use, because so far I have only found those 2 1x1 round tiles in light bluish gray, but not these 1x1 round plate modifieds. Step 41. In this step we have to place 4 of these hollow studs, or only studs, whatever you want to name them. This is a technique used quite often by BlueBrixx, and it is done to invert the building direction without needing much space. So, for example, we place one of those studs on the underside of this, what is it, of this 2x4 plate over here. And when this is done correctly, not like this, we can simply place, for example, the plate on here, and then, let me just remove it, and then it would look like this. The problem now is that normally these BlueBrixx sets which use those only stats come with a 6L bar with a stop ring, so that we have a little tool to place these things. But in this older set, we don't have any bar. I don't know what they think how we should do this. It's very, very difficult with just the fingers. But I'm going to use this 1x2 plate with handlebar here, and that seems to work. So you can see we can really insert that bar into these studs, and then we can place them. Let's see if we can remove it. Yeah, and now it is placed. And as you can see, it works perfectly. Well, it's really good that nowadays those sets come with longer bars, because this really isn't the best tool to do it. Step 50. I noticed another thing which is done in newer BlueBrixx sets. Every time we turn our build around, there's normally a symbol that indicates that we have to turn the build. So in this picture over here, the build is like this, but we have to turn it around for the next picture, and the symbol is missing here. Step 82. We are building the engine right now, and to do that we need to place this rim, I think, on this pin over here. But the problem is that the rim is a tiny bit higher than the brick on which we attach it via the help of this pin over here. And that means when we do so, the brick won't sit flat on the surface of the rest of the engine. So you can see it's slightly bent upwards on the front part. I have seen this before in another set. I think it was the monster truck set, the blue monster truck, which I built. There, this was a bigger problem because a whole part of the front of the car was bent because of this a tiny bit too large rim. Step 85. In this step we can see that the building instructions by BlueBrixx are a bit more for advanced people than the Lego instructions. It isn't something difficult, but Lego would show this Technic axle here in their build, but BlueBrixx doesn't. We only know where to place it because there is no other way to connect those curved pipes without this Technic axle. So you can see we got these pipes, they are hollow, and we have to stick this little axle in one side of the pipes to connect them, like this. And now we can place the whole thing over here. Well, it's not so easy with just one hand. Yep. And now you can see it just looks like in the instructions. Step 102. In this step there is a cute building technique used which I want to show you. So we have this 1x2 tile and this 1x2 plate with the hook on it, and we made this little construction out of it, like this. And what we do now is that we turn it around and place it in this gap over here. And the whole thing only stays in place because we interlock the hook with this open stud over here. It's nothing that special, but I still really like it. Step 161. I have noticed that there are slight problems with the color. So we got this little construction here, and all the bricks are in sand green. But as you can see, they have slightly different shades. So this brick, for example, is a bit different in its color than the plate above it. Or you can see here, this 1x2 brick is in another green than this 1x2 brick with hole in it. You don't notice it too much, but when you have a close look, it's absolutely recognizable. Step 196. In this step we are going to use these 1x2 plates with studs on both sides. This isn't anything special. You find these plates a lot in Kobe sets and in BlueBrixx sets. But I still want to show you these plates because it's a thing you wouldn't find in a Lego set. Lego doesn't have these kind of plates. It's just used like these hollow studs. It's to invert the building direction. So you simply can place a brick or plate on this side and also on the other side. So, like this. Step 198. With attaching the tires, we have completed our build. And what a beauty it is. Speaking about the tires, you really feel like you want to wash your hands after you have touched them. Somehow these tires are oily. I don't know what happened to them. That's strange. And it's only a problem with those tires which are attached to the car down here on their axles. This the spare tire up here and back here, those two tires don't feel oily at all. I don't know, or maybe a bit. Yeah, those are fine, but these really feel oily. It's strange. Okay, then before we will have a closer look if this is a Land Rover Series 1, 2 or 2A, let's just see what kind of details we can find here. So first of all, we got a cool bumper. Here is the radiator grille, the headlamps. We got those mirrors on these wings. And on the sides of the wings we got these Yeah, maybe these are indicator lights or just some reflectors, I don't know. On the bonnet, we got this spare tire. I think it's a compact spare tire. Also on the back, this is also a compact spare tire because those tires are thinner than the tires which are attached to the car on down here on their axles. Those are just thicker. But if this tire was thicker, it would be more difficult to have a look outside window. So that's fine just to mount a compact spare tire up here. Okay, the bonnet itself can be opened, but I think it doesn't close as nicely as it should. So this would be ideal, but there is this gap over here. That's a bit sad, but that's okay. Okay, we can open the bonnet, and inside this area we see this beautiful engine. It's really well done. It's quite clever. Okay, what else do we see? Here are door handles on both sides. That's really cool. And also this fuel tank cap up here. That's cool. We can open the doors and have a look inside the car. Let's just open the other door. And on the back side of the car, there's another door which we can open. Inside we see those benches on both sides. Yeah, here are lights on the back of the car. Down here we have a tow bar, and here is the exhaust pipe. Let's just have a quick look how it looks from the underside. Yeah, there's nothing special. Okay, what else can we do? We can remove the whole car top. Like this. And now we can have a better look. Here's the shifter, there's the handbrake, steering wheel, and here's some control panels. Let's just remove this so we can have a better look. And as you can see, the seats are very well done, but sadly I broke one of those grill plates here while building the seats. Maybe I can remove it later on. And yeah, and in the back we got those black benches we have seen before. Okay, then let me just very quick reassemble everything, and then we will have a look at which kind of model we see here. What kind of Land Rover model do we see here? Well, is it a Series 1, a Series 2, a Series 2A, Series 3, or what is it? Well, let's have a look at the details and maybe then we get an answer. First of all, we got these wings over here, which don't have any indicators or side lights or whatever. Normally, this would mean that this is an early model 1, early Series 1 model. But when we have a look at the side of the car, we can see here that there's a bulge. So the door isn't flat like it should be with a Series 1 model. it's curved. This means this is a Series 2 model or later. I just think Adrian, the BlueBrixx designer who created this construction block model, just used a building technique for the front of this car, which didn't allow him to put any indicator lights or whatever on the sides. Okay, now we know this is a Series 2 or later model. What else can we see? How do you distinguish Series 2 from 2A? That's a very hard question. Well, first of all, we know this can't be a Series 3 or later because the headlights are between the wings, not on the wings. Late Series 2A models had already the headlights on the wings, and Series 3 and so on all had a headlights on the wings. So this is a Series 2 or earlier Series 2A model. I think also the late Series 2A models and Series 3 models didn't have the mirrors here on the front wings. They were somewhere here in the area next to the door. I somewhere read that you can distinguish Series 2s from Series 2As by looking on this, on this, how can we call it, on this front apron here. Series 2s have this thing flat, while the Series 2As are curved over here. I think this is a point we really can't use for this model here, because those small curves are very hard to build with construction blocks, and I just think this wasn't possible here. Okay. Most of the Series 2s and 2As I saw didn't have indicators or reflectors or whatever on the sides. Only the late 2As I saw had them, but they also, or let's say most of them I saw had them when they at the same time had the front lights on the wings, which means only late 2As. But I also saw some pictures of Land Rover 2As which didn't have the front lights on the wings, so this means they weren't late 2As and already had some kind of reflector, or what is it? A side repeater for the indicator lights. I don't know what it is. But there were 2 or 3 cars I saw which already had these things on the sides and still had the headlights between the wings. So this might mean that this is a late 2A, but not so late that it already had the headlights on the rings. Cars which were produced in 1969 or later had the headlights on the wings because of new regulations, at least in Britain. I think in the United States, for example, it was an year earlier, it was 1968, that the front lights had to be on the wings. So this means our car is a Series 2 or 2A, but it was produced before 1969. And I think it's just a late 2A because of these indicators or reflectors or whatever. So it was produced just before 69, I would say. Because I also know that the late 2A models, which have the headlights on the wings already and the mirrors over here, also have a black interior. So the seats are black, the benches in the back are also black, which would also be a sign of the late 2As. It's just that the headlight is still between the wings and not on the wings. That's hard to say. But I think we can say it's a 2A because the time period in which 2As were produced was a few years longer than the time period in which just only the 2s were produced. I think the 2s were only produced for 4 years, and so this should be a 2A. I'm not 100% sure, but I think there's a quite big probability that this is a 2A and not a 2. I think BlueBrixx designer Adrian has done a really great job. This model almost looks as beautiful as the real car. I really love what he has done here. The bricks aren't the best you can get out there. I mean, there are some slight problems with the colors, but this shouldn't be too big a deal. It's okay. I wouldn't complain too much about that. The bricks worked perfectly well for the set, so I had a problem with one brick. There was this grill that I broke. Maybe I was just too clumsy or the brick was faulty. I don't know. But besides that, I didn't have any problem. Of course, those bricks have ugly injection holes, but you can't see them because there are tiles over the whole set. So these are the only two studs which are visible. The most important part is that there were no bricks missing. We only had a few spare parts, but as long as there are no bricks missing, I don't care about spare parts, so that's totally fine. I think for just below 40 euros you can't do anything wrong. This is a very good deal. You get a great model, it just looks so beautiful. It was fun to build. It wasn't difficult, it was quite an easy build, but I had several hours of fun, so it's a cool set.